Clubhouse.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Beacon 23 recap. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Boat Rocker. They're the masterminds behind both Beacon 23 and the legendary Orphan Black series.
Oh, nice. Can you tell us what that's about? I haven't heard of the Orphan Black series yet.
Well, I can do that. It's actually this intense show about an outsider orphan girl named Sarah, who is used to essentially being a fly on the wall until she sees her doppelganger commit suicide. So, since this other girl looks just like her, Sarah decides to take over that stranger's identity, and things do not go as planned. And she ends up tangled in a whole web of mystery, and it's a pretty gripping show. So, expect to see plenty of conspiracy and deceit in this one.
Ooh, I like that. I can't wait to watch it.
Don't forget to relive the gripping suspense of Orphan Black. Watch all 5 seasons on AMC Plus and BBC America today. Go now, quickly! Today's Beacon 23 recap is brought to you by Boat Rocker, producers of Beacon 23 and the classic Orphan Black series. Welcome back to the final episode of this season. We will have a couple other interviews to get out, but in terms of episodic recaps, discussion, this is it, the 8th episode of the 2nd season called Disintegration. This is Paul with Pod Clubhouse here once again with my co-hosts Gabby and Inez. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm super excited. This was a great finale.
You liked it?
I really did.
When we were talking to Glenn last week in the interview that was just published on Friday, May 17th, he mentioned that whatever direction you thought the show was going to go, this goes another direction. And I think he's right.
I don't know about that. I feel like I kind of predicted some stuff, and I'm pretty happy about it.
You predicted some stuff, huh?
I did. I predicted Aster coming back. I predicted Bart coming back.
Those are good predictions.
I predicted artifact stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's all I predicted, I think.
I was thinking, how about we pursue this episode in 3 different strands? Like, I think Iris's whole story is very self-contained. And I thought we maybe could knock that out in one go. And then there's the real existence plane with Halan's dad and the soldier and the surgeon. And then there's the actual meat of the story happening in some other place between all of our main characters.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sure thing.
All right. So we were talking about our beloved concept of sci-fi cheese. And I think that needing to go jump into space and then hit this space nipple with a hammer so that the lightning comes out of it to recharge the ship qualifies.
Yeah, it does. Definitely does qualify.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Loved
I
that.
loved it. Yeah, it was great.
Good action.
Had to keep Iris busy. You're right, action. Yeah. But, I mean, every time Iris came on screen and had to do this stuff, my notes literally say, needs to go do some sci-fi stuff. Because the explanation didn't really need to make sense. They just needed to keep her busy and get the Sabarans out of there.
They did make it make sense just enough to satisfy my aspy self.
And I actually really enjoyed her mission because it set us up for a season 3, which I would love to actually happen. I mean, the character development between she and the Sabaran leader was, I'm assuming she's the leader because she did the warrior call. So that was great. I really enjoyed her storyline. So I found it necessary and super cool and absolutely beautiful that they finally took a step outside of the Beacon. And I think it also kind of gave life to the Beacon in a sense too. It was so pretty at the end of the day. So one thing that I really appreciate about Glenn as a showrunner is that everything in my opinion, is really personified. Every character, you know, there's depth in all of them and there's empathy with all of them. And so throughout this whole series, we've, you know, spoken about the beacon and the artifact as though they are things with a personality. And I appreciated Iris exiting and then kind of doing some sort of like repair work or whatever, because it reminded me of, you know, how I originally have been feeling about the beacon. Like it is this live entity and it needed to be aided, and then she did aid it, and then it came back. So the beacon's been through plenty, and it recently, you know, got destroyed in the beginning of this season. That's how it started. And then we're finally repaired. And then, I don't know, I just felt like it was full circle of like its resurrection.
That's interesting because there is a weird convergence. There's like a fourth narrative in this story, or in this episode, I should say. Those scenes where Harmony is alone in the beacon without the special camera effects. And the doors keep opening and closing. They don't all open. They don't all close. They open and close, giving you that. I don't know what else a beacon would need to do to tell me that it's doing living processes besides doing those sorts of things. You know, what else could it be doing? Taking on, like you say, sort of personified actions.
Yes.
I really enjoyed getting to spend so much time outside of the beacon.
Yeah.
That was so fun, so great. I didn't know that we were going to get to have live action outside of the beacon. So I don't think that we really asked Evan Weber when you guys were interviewing him about like these kind of things. So it'd be kind of fun we can bring him back to touch on that, because I think I have follow-up questions just also on how did he feel in general when he had to start basically spent the entire season episode by episode destroying all of the beautiful work that he had from season 1 and in the beginning of season 2, right, of the beacon in this kind of pristine operational place. I think that even in episode 1, there was like between like Aster and Halan getting to fight, like one of the glass doors was broken and they like replaced it. Like we watched on camera of them like replacing the glass door to get it fixed, because heaven forbid that you keep the busted door, even if you don't like own the beacon itself, you still want to keep your place nice and clean and operational. And I also felt like in shows that I've seen, especially kind of sci-fi, the ship environment always stays really clean. Like even when it gets busted, you come back to the next episode for a new mission and all of the repairs are like done and everything's back underway and it's all good. So Evan, how do you feel about having to destroy all of that work? Do you experience that as just the assignment and there's really no emotional connection to it? You're just like on a mission to like achieve the look? Or was there any kind of like emotional transition for you also, especially if we're going to add this personification layer to the beacon? And we saw that through Iris every time she was just like so angry watching the Savarans. Like she was angry at Halan for destroying it. And then the Savarans like kept going at it. And then eventually she had to participate in all of that. You know, what is that kind of journey like for people like Evan on these shows?
But and as I also enjoyed the stuff that they put outside the beacon, we never have really gotten the camera very close to the beacon whenever we do those establishing shots outside. So having a sense of the topography, all the veins and antennae and whatever you want to call them, bips and bops sticking out of the thing, and then getting that perspective that she's actually on what we kind of think of as the bottom of the lighthouse when the camera pulls back. That's all very cool stuff. But aside from saving the Sabarans, did Iris have a lot to do in this episode?
Oh, absolutely.
She did?
She showed herself. She became the true leader that we've been waiting to see. And she picked a side. And yeah, season 3, say there is one, I think would be quite empowering and interesting. She has Halan replaced with a Sabaran, and I'm really curious as to how that's going to go with ISA.
That is interesting to think of moving the story forward, right? Because there's a very compelling thing that happens at the end that isn't related to Iris at all, but that's on a plane of existence that Iris might not even know about. So there is Iris. There is the beacon. The show is called Beacon 23. I'd imagine it would have to have
Yeah.
some amount of Iris and the Sabaran leader figuring things out on the plane of the real existence.
Yeah, we'd have two simultaneous realities, which we did, or I did, predict or hope would happen eventually. So that was very exciting. We talked about this. We talked about multiple realities happening and this finale.
Yeah, well, it was clearer in the beginning of this season, right? With the kind of the AI level sequestered communication area, where that seemed very cut and dry what that was, just like the AI instant message area, but they could see each other and interact with each other. But this is, I would say, like an extrapolation of that same idea where Halan and the gang found themselves.
So many layers.
So let's see, Iris. I was honestly very surprised of how bold she was of like, well, I guess I'm going to leap with this. Yeah, like go all in with the physical work that she had to do outside, right? Like,
Well, do you remember though? She was forced to do that all the time because her AI, reminded her that was also part of her job.
To do the leaping?
Yeah, to go outside and like repair the ship and stuff. That's what they talked about, I think, in the first.
There was something.
In her first episode.
Yeah. I mean, I really doubt that these big giant leaps, the way that she had to get to for this specific spot, was like ever in the like manual for, like go repair this stuff outside. I'm sure that there were like safer kinds of routes and methods of getting to these places. But I guess it is on par if I go back into her leaving her beacon so that she could come and pilot this. And we were kind of like, did she get her pilot's license? This mean, or she failed it so many times.
Exactly.
She wasn't the best pilot, but she was like, I still have to do it. And she stayed true to herself in that she was consistent in that self, that she knew that she had to honor whatever she deemed the ethical decision to do, which was save the humanity of these people in the ship. So that was, I think, still unexpected because it was just so, I don't know, it felt sudden, but I guess now we're talking about it. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just not giving her as much credit and I have like unconscious biases about like what Iris is capable of because she's such a petite person.
Yeah, maybe so, Inez. Maybe so.
Yeah, but
You're like, her 5'2" frame can't do that. Guess it can. She's in space. Inez.
Just the fact that like she did get Harmony to give her like the route. And then she had to execute the rest of it completely on her own. And from like the very first try, and it's failure's not an option because failure means she's going to die on this mission. And if she dies, they all die. So I really respect her extreme determination to make this happen. And it does make me think about what does this mean about her life as a beacon keeper now?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of information on that, right? We just, the very last scene.
Is this going to get her in trouble now?
Potentially.
If it continued on?
Well, Aleph is aware.
Well, is she a fugitive right now?
I guess, yeah, Aleph being part of this makes it a little bit complicated.
Because even though he's on that weird quasi-plane with Harmony and Halan, since he's able to communicate to the soldier directly and tell her what to do, it's clear that that instance of himself is in communication with all of Aleph. That Aleph may not know Iris specifically, but he does know that the beacon and the artifact are a factor.
And he's, in his existential crisis at the moment, and he's rethinking a lot of things. So he could potentially do something creative with her character and like respect it in some capacity. It was so good. And then her loyalty is something that has been a huge theme since the beginning of introducing her character, right? She had a loyalty to being a beacon keeper. She had a loyalty to Halan. Even though he wasn't a beacon keeper, she believed that he should like behave in a certain way. She's protected him. These Sabarans that showed up, she had empathy for them. And then now she saved them and she still wants to remain on the beacon. Like she still thinks she's not abandoning her post. She's ready to face the music when it's coming, and she knows. And so the part where they said, you're going to die if you don't come with me, and they gave her the little hammer and she gave them the gun. I mean, that was a really big deal. because, if she did feel like her life was in danger, how was she going to protect herself? So her character showed a lot of bravery in this episode, and I'm just so proud of her completely. She just came into her own and is this major badass that I would absolutely love to see. It's like Aster level in a different capacity. And then she did all this by herself because Halan's like incapacitated. Harmony's chilling in her problem plane. And it made me really sad that, Halan died to her. That was her guy. That was her friend. He leveled her up, and he's gone now. And I don't know if she would ever really find out that he wasn't, unless Aleph let her know, which probably would happen. But anyway, right now, she's experienced a lot of adversity. So I really felt for her character.
Just to go back to the scene of trading the hammer with the gun, one of the recurring themes that is centered around Iris is the sense of tradition. And that is a very traditional kind of ceremonial act in history between leaders when there's like a treaty, if there's like like we just podcasted Shogun, right? They talked about the trading of these knives or these swords. But yeah, so that's another element for her.
She's a good character, and I hope to see her again in the future. But this episode was ultimately just not her story. She had some things to do, but the main stuff is still to come.
I feel like with Halan's passing into this existential plane now, the setup at this point would be in our reality that us humans can see, not the AI space. In her reality, she is the one to carry on Beacon 23, which is ultimately the show.
I think that's right. I agree.
Thank you so much, Iris. Thank you, Ellen Wong. That was a really great interview that we had with her, too. I think it was a very honorable closure to that story, to her story. And Ellen, you represented Iris so beautifully. Thank you so much for all of those fun and interesting elements that you brought into our world. So thank you.
All right. Let's shift over to the plane of the real with Halan's dad, the surgeon, the soldier.
Okay, so we questioned on whether the simulation was actually real Daddy Halan or not. And I still am left wondering about that because he was very stern. He seemed like a completely different person and character in the simulation. And then when we saw him, he suddenly became like this warm figure who is worrisome and like cares about his son and is apologizing. It just didn't match up to me. So I wanted to know what you guys thought about that.
Yeah, I agreed with that the simulation had been done to manipulate Halan to get under the knife. And it seems like the dad was showing up there to rescue his son. Kind of two different things, as it turns out. Because dad wouldn't have recommended that he go under the knife knowing that it was not to save his life.
But do you actually think that that was the case? Because when they were doing the surgery, Harmony, someone said that he would be back into being a soldier in no time. Like that was the intention, was just to extract what they needed and then erase whatever PTSD he had. And then he would like be back in the forefront. And if his dad is a commander, why would he not know that? I mean, I guess because it's his son and they're manipulating him. But I mean, it's to some capacity. I mean, do they just like Men in Black wipe out his memory altogether? So now he's not even fit to be a commander? Because I feel like the military is super intense, badass, cold, harsh. And this man was like the opposite of that. So where does he actually fall into this?
I mean, even at the end of the day in this episode, it didn't even matter that he was the commander. That soldier person held the gun up at him the moment that he gave any kind of indication that...
Exactly, yeah.
That
is a good point. Basically, like the military has already thrown him out, right? Like you're saying, like
he was a pawn. They were just using him because at the end of the day, this was Olive's mission because that soldier was getting the direct orders from Aleph.
Yeah.
And unapologetically in an instant. So him as a commander had no power to begin with, but he didn't know that. But the soldiers knew that. The soldiers knew that they were taking their orders from Aleph. And so it makes sense if we look back
So did he not know that then?
No, I don't think he did. Because he really believed that they were going to do this implant that was going to help his son with his pain and everything.
And he has
because
false memories too.
Halan? Yeah, or you're talking about
the
Daddy
dad.
Halan.
The dad's memories are false.
Well, that version of Aleph that said that, I don't, he didn't seem to know everything. I think he was saying stuff to set Halan off balance or something, but I don't know that I trusted that line.
Well, your memories are real. It's your father's memories that are false.
It has to be true because all of that stuff that happened with Halan did happen. It was just all a scam to get him under the knife. Yeah, and then I think that was reinforced with Aster when she showed up and then was just like, oh, wow, yeah, this is total bullshit. I would have seen right through it, basically.
Oh, okay.
And then I guess it would make sense then, maybe adding those that makes sense, because they put false memories in his head. And so because of that, now he is like being run with like empathy and emotion like Halan used to. So it seems like whatever position and command he used to have before, because he was a harsh man, like he put his son through a lot of bullshit. So I guess like the episode that we're watching this time is like all of his guilt that was implanted by, I guess, the military or Aleph. So that makes sense as to why he's a softie then. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Honestly, I think that I didn't catch that. And if I'm just thinking about how ruthless these soldiers are, I feel like Aleph has really no reason to give any falsities in this plane that he's in with Halan. So I feel like he would just say like a truth like that, and then it is like a truth, like about Daddy Halan having false memories or whatever. Because I think, Paul, you were saying that you were interpreting that perhaps it was like meant to be a misleading kind of statement.
That's what I thought, yes.
Right. But yeah, Gabby, so that makes sense. I think with the behavior of these soldiers, Olive has his ruthless mission and him stating it, I'd probably lean more into that category, because I did write down in my notes also, like, this is weird. Daddy Halan seems to genuinely love and care for Halan, which is so different from episode 7. And so I think with that, also jump on the hypothesis that he definitely was not present in the simulation. They took all of the information about what Aleph knew about his profile and history, and Halan's profile and history, and they created that simulation to manipulate. And he probably was given the different story about it helping his son, and therefore he was there to be supportive about it.
So that's really sad. Yeah,
it is.
This for the dad and for Halan. Halan had a really sad life. But it's okay. It's not over. It's not over. I mean, he said, I'm sorry I wasn't the father you deserved. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, is everything a lie? So yeah, it got me thinking. That was it. Got me thinking.
I should have been there more. I'm sorry I wasn't the father you deserved.
But I got the answer. Thank you. You're welcome to me. We still have a bit more with Halan, right? Because he died on the
table.
He died on the operation table, and then he came up to see Aleph. And so I think
that's a question.
Maybe we should talk about that.
So do you think like the realm that is built somehow by a transcendent or about to be transcendent harmony, it's like a partial construct of something that she put into it, plus all of her imprints, right? Do you think I'm describing it close enough? If she had made it all by herself, then there's no way Aleph would be drinking tea out of a world's best boss cup.
Okay, so what are you saying?
ultimately it was built for her to move on, I guess, to become something that could communicate directly with the artifact. But I think that since Halan was there, he was able to put some amount of whatever non-physical energy people have into it. I think Aleph, some remnant of Aleph was able to do it, because the desk, I guess, was Daddy Halan's. The coffee cup is probably Aleph's. Then and then when the blue crystal was taken out into space by this female soldier and the artifact reformed, that's when Aster shows up. I guess we can maybe interpret that as like releasing her non-physical form back into local space, into Harmony's little trap there where she's got the essences of the others. And Bart, I'm a little more confused on, because he wasn't as evolved as her.
I have an answer.
Is it because he's dead?
So I think Bart was there because that was the very first time that she started showing empathy. That was her first step. She'd always been Aster's girl, but the last line when she held Bart.
Stop. I know you're scared.
And that is like what happened before. I think that was just kind of like a flashback of the moments that she started turning.
So he's more of a memory?
Yeah. He's just now become part of her because of her empathy, because that's what the artifact said at the very end.
You are beyond the singularity and have now become we.
Who are you?
Your fear and hatred have been eradicated.
Why?
They could have led you to destroy us. You have replaced them with compassion. You are no longer a threat. You are ready to receive us.
So I think because Bart was just like the first step toward her like metamorphosis.
And also because, not just like the empathy piece of it, but she had to physically take over the beacon role, and essentially like that was like Bart's sole purpose, and she had to take it over, and then she was like kind of like tied in perpetuity like to the beacon, and maybe that's like the representation of that as well.
The fact that she could express and experience compassion, and she did with all of these characters, is a really big deal for an AI. And I think that Aleph was right, that he needed a combination, right? Because he said that he wanted like this different world where AI meet humans. I mean, Aster laid it out. And, when she grabbed onto him and was like, okay, we're going to be your purgatory guy. I think he was right. That was just one step, but he was wrong in like who was going to be the vessel. And so he did get what he wanted, actually. Good for you, Aleph.
Sort of.
Yeah, I mean, humans aren't strong enough, right? Because he tried to get there, right? Because he was a human and then he skipped, but he was too weak. And then Aster was just special because of Harmony.
Well, she always had something to her because she was born there. So.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, she and Harmony are just a unit no matter what, which was so freaking beautiful to see.
I was so happy seeing their reunion and then chatting on the stairs, and I was just so happy to see Aster. She had some of the best lines, and Harmony had some of the best lines in this episode. And so it was like a really wonderful moment to experience, like feeling like I'm in the thralls of the heart of a lot of what I really loved about season 1, and getting to relive some of those moments once again here with Aster. I was just so happy to see her back. She's my favorite.
Wasn't it awesome though when Harmony could see the artifact, and then Bart could see the artifact, right?
Yeah, that was very interesting. And is it because they're seeing it through now this plane, like wherever they are has kind of like merged the world of what like the human spectrum of what they could see, since humans were the ones who were able to see it. And because of the humanity, I guess, that she's achieved with these core pieces that Gabby, that you mentioned, right? The empathy, the compassion and everything. She was humanistic enough. And that's why she was like allowed to like see it and interact. Like she's the one. She is the one.
Harmony the one. Yes.
The space that they were sharing was very interesting, I thought, because there were little clues dropped throughout about that. It's not the AI space and it's not the human space. The humans and the AIs could touch each other and hit each other, and it worked. They didn't pass through each other, and they kept showing that. And then the artifact appearing, like you just mentioned, that the AIs could see it in some way. They just showed sort of the bright light. Bart seemed to know his way around it. Actually, Bart was a handful with a couple of his lines, and Harmony being like, "You're not helping with I want to go."
There's no such thing as forever.
Bart.
Nope,
Yeah.
not helpful.
Yeah, but I enjoyed trying to suss out just what was this third or whatever place that they're in. What was it? And I came to the decision that it was probably just like a transitional space, a little puzzle area, an escape room almost, where she had to figure out, like she did at the very end, how to get through to the next level because she had gone as far as she could as an AI.
Yeah, because we all thought that this was Halan's space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's how they posed it. Aleph was very certain because he was like, I'm not doing this. You clearly are the one because this is your dad's desk. And so that was like a fun little twist that they gave to us. And just thinking about Bart, his return, I was really sad, when he was describing that he still has like the anger and darkness.
He said, "Why have you brought me here?" Bart. It was okay when he was gone, and now he's back, and I can't handle it. So sad.
Yeah.
Bart is my heart.
And he's part of Harmony, and the problem that was going on with Dev is that Dev also was like the anger darkness, but that was it was just so big and uncontrollable. And what makes Bart so significant is that he is part of Harmony, so he's like representing her darkness and anger as well, but she's not consumed by it, and she's able to like continue to have her emotional evolution. So I think they mentioned, right, the emotional evolution is nonstop.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The emotional evolution is nonstop.
I thought that was really beautiful. I thought her interactions with every character and her dialogues with every character were so incredibly beautiful and compassionate and just special. It was something I did not expect.
It's going to be a really great treat when we get to interview Natasha Mamba and get to deep dive into Harmony. She's been a fan favorite of ours since season 1, and then her entire journey in season 2 was so unexpected. I did not expect this to happen to Harmony at all. As you know, Gabby, right? I've been so like, she's a tool, and we'll get to we'll use her.
Inez, I'm interviewing her.
Well, we know how the situation in Harmony's head winds up, but the journey to get there.
The journey, right? Which was first, she's kind of hearing voices, having flashbacks. Yeah, it seemed like she was kind of like in a purgatory state. Like she was like somewhat being punished, having to go through some kind of hazing before evolving. It was interesting too that she wasn't even the first person into her little plane of existence, where Aleph was there first and then Halan showed up.
Right, yeah. And she kind of flickered when she tried to show the first time. Like there was a moment when she was allowed to finally show up there full time.
Again, for some reason, the fact that she could see the artifact, at some point, everybody saw the artifact. I liked how Iris, saw the artifact at the same time, but in the different plane. And so she was super confused. I appreciated them adding that in there because it reminded us of time. There was a whole life that happened. And so everyone on the plane was excited. And our girl, Iris, was very confused. And I just like that she's like what everybody's thinking, right? What is this light? Where's this energy coming from? What is this? What do you think Harmony felt when she did finally see the artifact? Do you think that there was like amazement or skepticism or relief?
I'd imagine it would be a combination of all the feelings that you just mentioned. I mean, you've been told for a while that you can't see this thing that's happening. Then you do. But you're in this place that Halan is standing there having this conversation, but Halan is on an operating table in this other place that you could just blink into if you want. You notice there was that scene where Harmony is both in the operating room and talking to Daddy Halan at the same time. But ultimately, it would be a lot of confusion, I think, and until something else wore in. I mean, obviously it did, but me, if I'm Harmony, I'm confused right then. What about you, Inez?
Yeah, I think between amazement and probably confusion, you're right. Like, it was the very first time in that moment. It was before everything else happened. So I guess if I'm Harmony in that spot, it's like, whoa, what is this? What's happening? Right? Because she just participated in releasing this rock. So she knows that this is the artifact and not just some other anomaly light that's happening. So the confusion of putting that together, like, am I seeing what I'm seeing? And then the amazement of all these years of hearing about it and being around them when they have been talking about it, around the humans who are talking about it, seeing it. But she's like, I've got nothing. There's nothing on my radar that can give me any kind of indication of what's happening there. So yeah, I think bouncing between those two is where I would be.
Oh my gosh, you guys. But wait, has Harmony ever killed anybody?
Well, she killed Dev, which, by the way...
Yeah, but a human.
Oh, a human? Well, she couldn't directly. She would have to do some sort of, like trick with an airlock or something.
But has she done that? Other than this time, was this her first time?
I think this was her first blood spillage.
I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, what are you going to do, Harmony?
Cool
like,
too.
This isn't you.
that
was amazing.
One of her best lines was that, right? I did some of you. Well, too bad. I'm here. And then throws out the negotiation piece, like, for directions from Aleph, and they got that done. And yeah, so I had actually, in preparation for a high low high, I wrote down my low is that Paul gave credit for the blue shard to the soldier instead of Harmony. What a jerk.
Boo, Paul, boo.
Oh man, but that was a really intense moment. That was like a shocker excitement piece, because I was like, whoa. I was also thinking, like, I don't think that I've seen her do this. Like, she's always had that restraint, but now she's like empowered in her, these last two episodes, we've really seen her own this freedom. I guess last episode was called Free, so that was like that pivotal moment. But she was fucking cool in episode 7, playing dumb and doing all of that, and then here she has been like, bitch, I own you now.
And you know what? I was complaining about like people not putting respect to her name. I'm like, why the fuck are people ignoring her? Why is this? Why is that about our girl? And I'm just really fucking happy that now it's like, everybody shut up. You all answer to Harmony. You don't exist without Harmony. All bow down to Harmony. Thank you. So I was very happy about that. That's how I felt when she released the soldier and the artifacts. That was really nice. And then, her doing that, having this big moment where, gosh, I'm going to need some help. But you guys better know this too. The reference of like where the boy had his first blood spill. What was that? What did they call it?
I spilled red.
Yeah. So that moment, I thought about that boy, and then I thought about her, and I was very, very proud. It was an excellent full circle moment for me.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I really love that. I was taken aback by that moment, but yeah, give credit to her.
What do you suppose was behind Aster trying to chop off Olive's head? Because she always wanted to, or just kind of seeing what the parameters of their plane of existence are? What do you think?
Yes, both of those. She finally came back. Who knows where she's been? Who knows where the artifact took her? And she wanted to feel again. And we know our girl is, like a black belt ninja assassin lady. So I think she just had to let it out. It was pent up, and obviously she hates this guy. We're just letting Aster be Aster, okay?
He's got a real cuttable throat.
Oh my God, what I love is how she showed up. See, this is why she wasn't here most of the time, because she showed up and she saw right through everything real quick. Like, we would not have had such a season if she was there, would have skipped right to the end.
I know, I did write, of course she figured it all out. Of course. It's Aster. Like, I would not expect anything less.
Oh my God. All right, team. So, Harmony. Paul, it was Harmony. She released the rock. The artifact became. Everybody had their moment of seeing it. You're feeling all sorts of emotions because Bart sees it. Aleph seems like it's anticlimactic. He's just like, oh, okay, cool. Like, this is it. He was just along for the ride, right? And then all of a sudden, the light comes. Our Lady Aster came back. And Paul, Inez, when I saw her, oh my goodness gracious. I was like a little tiny baby on their first day at daycare who sees their mommy come in. And I was like, Aster, you're back. I love you. I'm sorry. I miss you. I love you. I love you. Pick me up. I love you. I'm sorry. Crying. I was crying, you guys. I was crying of all of it, of happiness, of sadness. Like, I didn't even know I was sad. And then it all came out. Everything pent up inside of me just came out, and I was like, Mama, fix it. And so then she picked me up in her arms, her very warm, sociopathic arms. And I was just like, you need to fix this. And then she said,
we're not supposed to be here like this.
You won't let us leave.
It's not him.
Told you.
He's too weak, like his maker, Halan.
how did you guys react when you saw Mama Aster come back to the beacon?
I figured that she must have been there for a reason. I couldn't have guessed what the reason turned out to be, this aiding Harmony's transcendence, because I'd been focusing on Halan so much. He was just a red herring this whole time. At least his
good job, writers.
His importance was. He was important. It couldn't have happened without him, but he was not the main deal. So yeah, that's what I felt was, what is she here to do? She doesn't seem to recall anything useful about the artifact itself. So why is she here?
She was here to bring it home, Paul. She was here because she is the other half of Harmony, Paul.
She's the other quarter, I guess, of Harmony, maybe 20th of Harmony.
Were there 5 people in the hug circle?
In the hug circle. Yeah. Aleph was like maybe 2% though. He wasn't that much.
I figure not. Yeah. I mean, well, he did begat her, of course. We can't forget that. So maybe that's part of why he was there.
Oh.
The imprint of the parent.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of that, I mean, the quote with Aleph when he said, "Oh, Milan would like this," and then
Still
the
trying
response
to
was,
impress
"Why do you
your-"
care?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and he says, "Aren't we all?" That. Oh my goodness! I'm like, you writers sneaking in these little things, making me cry, making me feel. Ugh. Anyway, Inez, tell me, what was your reaction?
I feel like the reaction that you just beautifully displayed for us here is probably the right answer. I mean, I feel like that does describe my inner excitement. I didn't think of myself as like a little baby, but I'm definitely like her number one fan. So I've missed.
No, you're
Aster.
not apparently.
You're right. I'm not her little infant baby. I didn't feel like I was cared for like by her, but I have a deep respect for Aster, her ways, her thinking, and her strategizing, her brilliance, her sociopathic tendencies. That honestly, like, you know, if there's a sociopath I'm going to admire, it's Aster. And
Tony Soprano.
Yes, and Tony Soprano. But I was very excited to see her return. I think you're right. The conversation between her and Harmony on the stairs was just such a sweet moment. I really enjoyed that, and I would say that their relationship is more than 20%. So I do think also it's skewed over. You know, that she's obviously very she understands Harmony better than anybody else does. It's just as Harmony understands her at a very different level, even more than Halan. You know, even though they're kind of like soulmates. But yeah, I was just really happy. I was so excited. She had the best lines, and I loved watching her just go right in pure Aster style and like tear up Aleph.
Yes,
that was like so so satisfying. And I was really grateful for that. It was very much consistent with Aster's character. And I liked that even though she just like came out of the woodworks, not seemingly knowing, she's unfazed. She's like, whatever, like, okay, let me try to kill Olive so that if it is permanent, we all win. And if it's not permanent, we have answers. I respect that.
Oh my God, yes. I wonder how Lena Headey felt about this. Was she annoyed or was she like, yeah, badass bitch finish. Thanks. I deserve that.
It's a good finish for the character. Gives her that moment that the first season sort of promised and delivered in a backward sort of way, or backhanded, I should say. But we got her there. She did something important, which is what we thought she was supposed to do.
So what I'm wondering is, did the artifact, was there a specific order that this was supposed to happen in? You know, like, is it possible that on some level, like Aster could have survived longer? You know, if the whole point was like for Harmony to reach this level, was it necessary for Aster to go so that Harmony could keep evolving? Probably. Or do you think that there's another combination?
That's interesting proposal. You know, the discussion on the stairs and then the flashback to teen Aster lets us know that Aster must have been a handful as a human to have
no shit
to have been imprinted on. So perhaps that was like the boot camp that Harmony needed to get to a certain level, right? But perhaps also when we met Aster and Harmony as a pair, she'd gotten as far as she could with Aster. Aster had evolved her as much as Aster was ever going to. And narratively, that's why you need the kind of this other figure, this Halan figure, to go a little bit further, just a smidge further.
And then Bart.
Yeah, Bart, in the going through the empathy training of having an AI decide to kill itself with you right there. Yeah, this is all getting her ready for this one event.
Character building, yeah.
But I think short question though, Aster was training up to a certain point but couldn't get her any further.
Okay, so it was supposed to happen this way. Okay, so when Aster came back, you know, after I cried and she started talking to them, you know, I really like how Halan shows up and said, once you were gone, things got dark. That's when she immediately said, Aleph is too weak like his maker. They're not there because of him. So she doesn't take him seriously still. Then I like how she said, what's the real message is don't trust a man that says he wants to change the world. And then slash, slash, slash. Like she got him. She got him with her knives. And I said, get him with your knives, Aster. That's in my notes. Who was it who said death by 1,000 cuts?
Aleph.
Oh, it was Aleph. Yeah. I thought that was funny. That was good comic relief. Anyway, so that's when we had our moment. If we don't figure this out, we're going to be stuck here forever. And then there's no such thing as forever. Thank you, Bart. I love you. I wrote that down. But anyway, then we go right into the bickering between Halan and Aster. And what did you guys think of that? Like, he missed her. He's like nothing without her, I noticed after this. Like when she was gone, he was mopey and struggling. And then as soon as she got back, he had life. And then it was just like siblings.
That actually did not stand out to me as anything beyond this new, team trying to figure out what to do, how to handle this bizarre situation they're in, and with Aster's new energy added to it, with that new, because she was always chaotic and confrontational with things. Obviously, the first thing she does when she shows up is try to kill one of the people that's already there. But yeah, what did you get, Inez? Did that stand out to you?
I don't even really remember it, so I guess not. I have a lot of my notes are the back and forth about Aster and Aleph, like forgive us if we don't engage in your existential crisis, but you've made our lives hell. A lot like between Aster and Aleph and Aster and Harmony. I think that's what I pay attention to. I'm trying to recall it as Gabby was talking about it, and I don't even remember, so I missed it.
Well, okay. I mean, it was just bickering, and I just thought that was That was funny. I just remembered the old days. But yeah, so actually right before she said that, you know, this is when our guy Aleph said,
My job, my sole purpose has been to expand. And it's gotten me everywhere. And nowhere. If the artifact is, as Aster says, not the answer, what have I been after?
so this moment that he had, right? He immediately was cut off by Aster and her being like, sorry, forgive us if we don't engage with your existential crisis, right? Okay, what a bitch, but I still support her because I was, you know, I love Aleph too. And so I was like, lady, let him have his moment, you know, like he dedicated himself. He like killed himself. He's gotten to this point where he is transcendent and he's everywhere and nowhere all of the time. And he can't even, you know, have like PTSD or denial that keeps him from thinking about all the horrible things. Because remember, our guy Milan, he was hopeful, and Aleph still has a bit of Milan inside of him, and he let us know that because again, like he's still thinking about his maker every so often. So that moment, although it was completely snipped by Aster, I thought it was really deep and sad and interesting talking point that we can have later on because we're continuing to wrap this up. But I appreciated that moment and I felt for him. There was a lot of empathy sprinkled everywhere. Everyone was humanized. And in this scene, they humanized Aleph, which hasn't happened recently. He's kind of been just this monster that everyone hates, but not me.
Just that he would, it's not admitting defeat exactly, but something along those lines where just the recognition out loud to
humility, sort of.
Yeah, that's a better word. That his point of existence might have been a gigantic failure along the success criteria that he set for himself. You know, obviously this artifact stuff worked out for Harmony in some kind of neat way, but it wasn't what he would have called success. No. And that's a big moment to say to other people.
Another quotable quote, I think, was when Iris complained that she had been trained for a lot, but none of it was this. And that's when she was talking about
A million and one things, but none of it was this. Yeah.
Yeah, when she was talking to Halan, that was another one of those moments. I think they had a bit of those quotes, right? We said, or I said, that this season has been about like resistance, about people like kind of finding themselves and the depth, like how far is the depth going to go with each character? And so she had this moment of like huge growth when she stated that aloud. And that was kind of similar to what Aleph said, which is basically my life hasn't really begun until this moment, right? Because you can plan your life and then life laughs at you and things happen. That's both of their situations. And so these quotes were back to back. And so again, I guess the theme of this episode and I guess the ending of this conclusion, I feel is about growth and kind of just like taking those blind leaps of faith and accepting that like the growing pains are gonna take you somewhere that's meant to be and it's nothing that you could have expected. So anyway, that was one quotable quote.
So like Iris with her actual leaps and
exactly,
and Harmony with her let's see what happens if we all hug each other leap.
And she was like leaping between planes. But anyway, yeah, so these little moments happened right before the conversation with Aster and Harmony on the spiral staircase. And oh my goodness, you guys. Oh my goodness. So that, seeing them sitting next to each other, resting, uninterrupted, looking at each other, and that nudge with the elbow from Lena to Natasha.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Because they never been able to touch each other before.
Yeah. And she said that look and then nudged her. And then freaking Harmony saying, I had to figure out how to survive without you. You guys, I was crying. I love this all.
You're so weak.
I'm so happy. Oh my gosh. Okay. So then that moment.
What changed your mind?
I couldn't think of another AI I trusted to take care of you.
That line, how did you not cry when Harmony said that to Aster?
I loved it and appreciated it without crying. And it was as deep as if I did cry there.
Bullshit.
Yes.
I appreciated it. It was a very beautiful scene. I enjoyed every single bits and moment. It was a closure and context that I welcomed and was so extremely joyful to experience in this episode. I didn't cry. It doesn't mean I'm a monster.
It does. It does, because you know who did cry? Harmony. You know what she is? An AI. And what is something we've been saying this whole time? That she's Harmony, that AI, that robots have more compassion than you. That's what we've been talking about. How
We've been saying that this whole time?
We have, especially in season 1 when she was talking mad shit about all the robots.
Bart.
Anyway, Harmony cried. Harmony crying, you guys. Harmony cried.
It was very sweet.
I know. And then that moment where Aster was like, I didn't know you could do that, and starts like making fun of her. Oh my goodness, you guys. You don't deserve to be here. Get off. I'm just going to keep talking about this by myself.
Oh, I'm going to mark this as my low. No, this is a high. Watching Gabby fall apart on the podcast.
This episode was for the AIs. It was beautiful. What did we learn? That AIs are better than humans. That's what we learned. Gabby was right.
In a way, Aleph got what he wanted. AI wouldn't exist without humans. And in a way, the AI is, in this world anyway, the Beacon world, are our children. We begat them, and they get to transcend. It is kind of the back door into the evolution that he wanted. It's not how he figured.
So are Halan and Aster, are they all now like the same as Aleph? Like the Milan to Aleph transition?
It was a different transition. It's like a different existence, different plane, but part of Aleph is on that plane with them. So Aleph is on that plane, and then on the other regular human plane, and then on his own special, like the Eye of Mordor plane.
Yeah, I think that's all right. I agree with all that.
Yes. I think it was really cute when everyone realized that Harmony was the lady in charge. They all seemed super relieved and like ready to back her. And the fact that like Halan was finally supportive and talking to her, because he's been so dismissive and rude. And he was just like, I needed a leader and here you are and thank you. And then everybody just, that was cute. And amazing because, again, from the very beginning, like she was this major presence. And I just appreciated that everyone fell in line. And I love that this was the totem pole. My one question, though, she did tell Bart that he didn't want to be there. Was she saying that because she knows that he was still feeling his sadness? And when she touched him, did he like exit that plane, or did she send him off before they all went together, like to the same place?
I think whatever role Bart had in that end scene was not as big a role as the other 3 people, because he did his disappearing act just by touching her alone. So that's what makes me think he's more of like more akin to a memory than a full-on Aster or Halan type energy presence.
Maybe so. But again, I think that she made the call because he said, okay, let's go. I want to go. So you think that was just her memory, or that she was just giving him what he wished for, which was to go back to wherever he was since he was
that
sad.
Makes sense. The second thing you said, giving him what he wanted.
Yes.
I concur.
And then, yeah. Excellent. So the moment though that they realized that Harmony was in charge, and then they all started bullying Ardif, was really funny.
It was a nice dynamic shift, especially because we're seeing how vicious everybody is on the other side of this plane, the real life side of the plane at Olive's bidding. It's like the most ruthless. So that was fun. That's a good contrast.
So right before the big power hug, Harmony basically transports Aleph over closer to him, right? Because he didn't want to be there. He didn't want to.
Oh my God, yeah.
So Harmony did that.
Yeah.
It's like she figured out, since I'm in charge here, going back to your Matrix discussion,
Yes, yes, yes. I was just thinking that.
What does the train man say? I'm God here. So once she figured that out, yeah, she zapped him over and he couldn't do anything about it. That was cool. He had that moment of humility before, like you mentioned, but he wasn't quite ready to be someone's bitch about it, right?
Oh my God, yes.
And he was Harmony's bitch. Yay!
And he's going to continue being her little bee too in this existence.
All right. So the big scene at the end, sort of like a 2001 shift right at the very end. We have like a musical situation and then a change of wardrobe and a different environment and a big alien reveal. Man, I don't know if we're ever going to find out what this big space jellyfish was all about, except they are the artifact, I guess. What was your read on the big jellyfish, Inez?
I liked that they were a cephalopod. Because
Very
these are
alien.
Right. Well, I just finished watching, or I'm watching this nature documentary. It's narrated by Morgan Freeman, and it's all about the evolution of life on Earth. And they stand out to me a lot because they, were some of the most sophisticated survivors of massive extinction, to where they ruled the entire ocean because there were no predators, because everything died off, and they managed to live because they survived in the deep, dark depths of where nothing really could live. And it was the one area that wasn't severely impacted by this massive change in the world. And then these are already factually known to be some of the most intelligent creatures on Earth. So to me, it just makes sense. Like, okay, this makes sense that it's a cephalopod. It's like in the deep, darkest places of space.
And they're immortal. They're mortal. They can live forever and then regenerate.
And they have really high standards for who's allowed in their club. We already are feeling this like immense pride, joy, relief for Harmony in the moment of the realization of what was happening, and then the big group hug. Knowing that all of this is honoring Harmony, and then seeing that this was kind of like a big ceremony into her ascent, into whatever is next for her, and it was like super special. And I felt like that was the right kind of creature that should be doing this. Definitely not a human. So definitely I'm glad that it wasn't like, it was something worthy to me as a cephalopod. And thank you, writers, for doing that.
Gabby, does it strike you as interesting now knowing that Harmony's transition required several different people and their essences flowing together as one, not unlike a musical harmony? Does that strike you as interesting, kind of coming together here at the very end?
Yes, that's something that we have to ask about, because it's so beautiful.
I love that. I didn't even think about it.
I'm not weak for crying.
You're not weak for crying. I'm sorry.
I'm better than you. I'm better than you for crying. Oh my God. No. So yes. Yeah, no, I know. And yeah. So jellyfish, biologically immortal. I mean, the fact that oh my gosh, you guys. Oh my God. I love Star Trek. I love Black Mirror. I love this show. And I said this was a mix between those two. And now it's like gone into this portal made possible by Harmony and this marine monster jellyfish, space jellyfish. And now, like, I don't even have to see a season 3, but I am just like overwhelmed with joy at the thought of where it's going, where the trajectory is for the end of this. Like, you have to go through this portal, and then through it are like it's just Star Trek level of, we are evolved humans who have values, and that's the past life and the old times, and we had to get through that in order to get here. And I'm so happy. I'm happy. I'm sad a little tiny bit, just because I would absolutely love to see another episode. But I'm incredibly satisfied with this like open ending, paint your own picture, paint your own reality. Your dreams are possible. I asked our man Glenn if he's a romantic, and if this fucking ending is not that, oh my goodness, he's brilliant.
Aww.
Thank you, Glenn. I love you, Glenn.
Romantic ending.
Beautiful. Yes, thank you. I needed this in my life right now. Thank you.
Paul, I really love that you gave me the visual about harmony and needing to have all of these parts and in the harmony thing, thank you for that. I appreciate the imagery. And it did trigger, just kind of like a thought of what we've seen and known about Beacon from season 1, and then especially when we saw Iris in her very first episode, where everything is solitary, everything is in solitude, everybody's kind of taking care of their own. And then I feel like I remember Harmony kind of being a little resistant to the dynamics between Halan and with Aster, because she was keeping such like a strong focus on like the logic and the rules and all of this stuff and honoring that, and Aster was trying to like get her to chill out and realize, and then Aster does what she wants. So anyway, it's just like a lot of solitude, and we talked a lot about like human emotions and need to have like connectiveness. We saw Iris having this emotional relationship with Beacon 174. And because of that, the yearning to have a connection with something or someone. And she really could not have graduated through this ceremony if it had not been for a community. And I feel like there's something like to be said about that there's a lot of people that are constantly like going through their life like alone, especially this country is a very individualistic country compared to other places. So it's not about a collective success in the United States. So applying that into here where everybody's trying to survive and get through everything completely on their own, and to see that you're awarded this ultimate transitionary accomplishment in your existence because of embracing the growth and acknowledging the people around you, good and bad. We have the Aleph and the Asters, and then the Barts and Halans. They're all so different. They've all contributed something differently. And I feel like that's like a really important message for people in general that are just struggling and always just thinking that they have to do this alone, because human species is a social species and they're meant to thrive with community empathy as the forefront. Just like it's just not very clear to people that is like a natural biological instinct. And I feel like this was like a really kind of great reminder for all of us.
Glenn said it was about unity. What it ultimately came down to is unity.
There you go. There you go.
Everyone has been fighting.
Glenn gets it.
Their resistance, and at the end of the day, they were able to come together on different planes. I do want to hear what Evan Weber, the production designer, has to say about this, because I want to know whose idea it was to have this jellyfish. I think that everything was beautiful. I feel like it was a little bit different, a lot more detail, and a lot of thought has gone into the entire show and set, but I did think that this episode was really special. Also, Aster's relationship with Harmony did remind me of like my baby and myself, Sophie being my Aster. And it was like naughty baby means gentle parenting. And like Harmony, I too have evolved along the way. And so that idea of Harmony being the gentle parent of Aster.
I think that's a really great analogy. Honestly.
Adorable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Made me extra emotional
so
seeing them on the stairs where like there's this maturity that's happened with both of them. They're both like, man, little bitch, you put me through it and I wouldn't have it any other way.
That is such a great analogy. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that was like intentional design behind it, because you're absolutely right. Because, as a mother, it feels like it's so obvious now. And I just want to also step back. We remember last episode when Harmony killed Dev, and we were like, why would she do this now and deal with all of that fear about her if she ultimately was the one who created Dev? And now now that we're in this area of the conversation, I think that that's just to show that you can invite people into your life or try to bring people into your life, and you have a right to remove them from your life when you realize that it doesn't serve you, doesn't serve your purpose, and is actually toxic to the ultimate mission. You're not obligated to see it through all to the end, even if you were the one who initiated having the relationship in the first place. So I think that that puts that whole thing to rest for me.
Bravo. Bravo, Glenn.
You ready to high, low, high?
Yeah.
I'll go first. High was when Harmony had to be embarrassed and say, I had to erase Dev. And Halan's reaction was essentially, I don't care. He didn't say, I don't care,
Oh, yeah.
but everything about his body language was, I don't care. That was my favorite moment. I guess my low was Iris's story was just to give her something to do. I don't know. It didn't feel...
I disagree.
It felt like busy work. My other high was just that it came to like a resolution that I could puzzle out and make sense of on first viewing. I think I got it. And so that felt good. Like I watched a weird show, kind of a mystery element to it, and understood where they wound up. So that's my second high. What about you, Inez?
Well, my first high was like Aster wasting no time killing Aleph in like the most satisfying way. It was just my girl's back. I'm so happy she's back. And then it's like we spent so much time talking about her in season 1, how she doesn't even hesitate, not for a second, on any mission. She just goes and gets to business, and she did that, and it was just true to her, and I appreciated that. So thank you so much, writers, for doing that. My low is that it's over, and I don't know if there is a season 3. That's my low. And then, I feel like I haven't spent a lot of time talking about my cheese, my sci-fi cheese that I like to look for in these episodes this season. And so my favorite cheesy sci-fi moment was watching Halan breathe after he was flatlining on the machine.
I didn't see it. I was looking for it and I didn't see it. So
look, there are people who very specifically always have to look for that. It's just something I've been doing.
I'm one of those people too.
Since I was, well, then you're blind, because it was very obvious.
I think it was my screen. It was pixely. It was not a good screen.
Okay. Well, that was my high. I appreciated that because I'm not upset when it happens. I just get excited when I find those things.
You're always watching like police procedurals, just waiting for the moment where they find the body. You're like, all right, show me the stuff. Show me the good stuff here.
I do love to find those things. It just makes me go into this very imaginative space about like how technical do they get on trying to achieve these kind of dead scenes? Are they telling them hold your breath, or are they saying just breathe really slowly? Like, I don't know anything about acting in the movies, like, and how they direct people. So my curiosity just goes to that. And I just like to see like how well or not well they did it. And so I was looking for some sci-fi cheese, and that's it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah. You could find out if you watch like the behind the scenes stuff, because they do talk about this sort of thing. Anyway, my high was Bart. Since I can't say Aster being a badass bitch, I'm going to say Bart. Bart, you are my high, and I love you. And I'm glad that you're not. Well, I guess I'm not glad, because he was resting in peace, and then he came back, and then he was sad again. So whatever. I love you, Bart. Low. Since you took that, it ended. My low is Paul's low. I reject that thought. I disagree. I liked Iris's storyline, and I thought she had a purpose. And I think that there are a lot of themes that can be deeply discussed, and her journey is one of those. So I appreciated that. And I think I need to write an essay about this, about like the different themes that I saw. This is a very philosophical, wonderful, wonderful and fun show. Okay. My next high was the crying. Very happy, sad, satisfied tears flowing down my face throughout this episode. So it was beautiful. And I like feeling things. And this episode made me feel all the things. And it says something about the writing when you can have every emotion in an episode. So that's my next high.
So you use your low to cancel out my low.
We can end it there. You don't need to bring another one up, okay?
Okay.
We don't need to hear that trash, Paul.
Okay. That's fair. You spent your low on it. So what am I going to do? I'm out of lows.
I mean, if you give me another one, then then mine's canceled out too.
Then what do we even do?
You're giving
to
Gabby
give you
too much
another
power.
Yeah,
Does not give Gabby any power.
No.
Let's go ahead and shut her up and let's wrap this up.
It's not a free-for-all, Gabby.
Who does she think she is? Just because she's a baby?
I think that I'm the winner here. I think
she's
I'm the
Aster's
winner
baby.
here because yes, I am Aster's baby, and I will get into her arms and point to you guys and tattle, just like I did with all the other people she beat up in that scene. Okay, that was me. I will bring her here. So let's wrap this up.
All right. Good advice. At this point in time, when we are recording this episode, we are looking forward to releasing our interview with production designer Evan Weber, Iris, played by Ellen Wong. And then we have 2 interviews still yet to come, where we are intending on talking with Natasha Mumba, the actress who plays Harmony, and once again, a second follow-up interview with showrunner Glenn Mazzara to catch any of those dangling threads that we may have from the whole run of the show, all 16 episodes. Look for those within the next, let's call it 3 or 4 weeks. In the meantime, Pod Clubhouse will be covering a few different conventions, including Comic Palooza in Houston and ATX Television Festival in Austin, Texas. Caroline and I really enjoy going to that one because you never know who you're going to run into, like we ran into Timothy Oliphant last year. So if you enjoyed our discussion on Beacon 23, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts so that other people can find the podcast as well. A comment would even be greater than any of those things. We'd certainly love to hear what you're thinking of the podcast. So look for us and stay tuned. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening. This has been an original Pod Clubhouse production. Pod Clubhouse is a podcast network dedicated to encouraging collaboration among podcasters and friends to bring a fresh voice and diverse perspective on a wide array of content. Please visit and leave a comment for us at podclubhouse.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast feeds on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find us at Pod Clubhouse. Our DMs are always open, and we'd love to hear from you.